Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet? As to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course of it. As for me, give me liberty, or give me death.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, this is Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Making sure I am live. Yes, I am. Have one visitor already, Mr. Will from Creators Outlet. You're still over there, Wills? Say howdy. Anyway, at my show, my sparsely attended show, I always try to do a beginning. I tried to have a review. Well, today I'm going to be reviewing Genuine Comics Perfect 10. This is the third issue. I've got the signature at the bottom there. Paid for it. But well, hold on one second. I haven't seen this guy in a while. Kokushuko Papa Shango, also known as Vince. Hey, welcome. But so Perfect 10, it's a really unique character, shall we say. Well, he kind of zigged where other people were zagging. So what most people have, like their cheesecake, they serve their cheesecake up with kind of fluffy, where it has a lot of appearance but not much character to go with it. And he went ridiculously cheesecake with her. I mean, ridiculously cheesecake. I mean, there's some pinups he's got of her that are physically impossible for a human being to do. But yet that's kind of his brand with her. And but she's got a lot of character. I've got both of. I got the first one, and I missed the campaign for the second one, but I got a catch up here. So I got this bundle. I got both the second one and this third one. Plus, I added this cross worlds, which is you get the ability to have one of your characters drawn by Pal Rodriguez, the chief artist. Really incredible guy. And I jumped on that, and I had him drawn with Ironsides. It's on my campaign. Um, Link is below. There's a print of him and the Genuine Comics American Bliss. But it turned out so well that Dave was a little irritated because he's like, he's already gone to print, and I really wanted to use that one. But oh well, it is what it is. Um, he gave me permission to use it in mine, so first 100 backers are going to get a print of that. Um, anyway, so this is a really cool addition. He's running one for right now on the Fund My Comic Second Chance campaign, the second chance for all three to get all three, plus some new goodies that are only going to be on Fund My Comic, including a pinup of Perfect 10 that is kind of ridiculous. Uh, I'm just going to say that much. Uh, she's on a bike. I'll just say that much. And it's like a backside shot, but I'll leave it at that. Go check it out on Fun My Comic. Link is below in the description. Anyway, look at that right there. Look at that. Now you there is a interesting there's an interesting kind of issue that you have with these books, and it's some people don't give you any characters to care for. Some people don't are sparse with they keep it simple, stupid. You have two or three characters that you're looking at, bad and good. Um, and that keeps things simple, keeps the narrative simple, keeps kind of like focus on the one or two protagonists you want to really focus on, and it's kind of like something that I would even recommend to people to be more simplistic at the first. That if you throw too many characters at people at one time, then there's going to be characters that get lost in the shuffle. And if there's any criticism I would give of this book, is that there's a lot of awesome characters that I wish could be focused on more, but they have to be secondary characters. And there's like some really cool dynamics and stuff like that are kind of thrown in there. Um, this one has a really interesting daughter son or daughter father dichotomy between her and her uh, creator. That's real touching at times. It's a very fleshed out, very interesting. And the villains are just as complicated and just as involved as the good guys are. As a matter of fact, there's some villains that are more interesting than the good guys. But at the end of the day, uh, this book is just like an embarrassment of riches. You have to go and you have to reread them a couple times, not because they're hard to understand, but because of all the because of the richness of it that you'll run into. In other words, you want to spend some time in this universe. It reminds me of Shadow Sentry or Hybrids. Hybrids is a little bit more pared down, a little bit more simplistic, a little more easier to follow. They throw a lot of really interesting characters at you in both Shadow Sentry and the other book is comparable is probably Company Men from Kimosabi. That book is really, really awesome. But we're talking about Perfect 10 here. So I'm a little bit late because I was finishing up something, a little project I was doing. They didn't quite turn out as well as I hoped. But I just had a brainstorm at the last minute. So for Perfect 10, I give it this score. So that'd be 5 carrots out of 5. It's a bunny recommend. It's a unique world. It's a unique pantheon that Dave Brink's building over there. And while it do throw a lot of things at you, it gives you a lot to look at, a lot to follow, a lot to care about, and that's really important. Hold on a second. So, Gate Kim B, what's up? Yeah, 5 carrots. I gave it 5 carrots. There you go. 5 out of 5 carrots. Yeah. Now, I think there is some improvement, some room for improvement, but just in clarity. But that comes from having to pack so much into a small space. And I believe I saw on the horizon where he's going to move some of these characters out of this main book and maybe do some more features on some of these secondary characters that are so fascinating. But it's just an embarrassment of riches. It really is. I wish he had a whole entire Marvel writing staff so he could pull these characters out into their own books, because it tends to get, it's a kind of a crowded space, but it's a crowded space of a lot of really interesting things. So it's kind of like a really cool antique store where everything is kind of a little bit cluttered, but it's cool to look at. Everything's so cool to look at, So as he goes, he's going to get. He's probably going to, things are going to clarify, things are going to spread out, and so it's only going to get better. So that's why I give it 5 carrots. So that's the review portion of this of today. Once again, if anybody wants to come on the show and talk about the subject, you can feel free. There is the link right there. Anyway, so the subject today: are there lines that you cannot cross? Well, in particular, I was going to talk about. One second, let me pull it up. I had it pulled up on my phone. Kind of got distracted a little bit. Hold on a second. But I posted something earlier today. 10, yeah, there you go. 10. I keep the 5 carrots because it's just a lot simpler. But let me read this right quick. I posted this morning, and it seemed to resonate with people. All right, here it is. So May 25th, 2016. As the frog in the proverbial pot of water, I was not aware of the extreme villain turn Marvel was about to execute. I was still buzzing from Captain America Winter Soldier, seeing the Captain America shield shirts everywhere I looked. And I was seeing some rumblings from Marvel that were getting increasingly strange, but I told myself the companies would never make movies against their own future viability. What kind of sense would it make for any corporation to damage its own brand and insult its own customer base? Stuff like that just doesn't happen in the capitalist society, right? Wrong. The moment I saw Captain America push Union Jack to his death and say Hell Hydra was the moment I saw the end coming. The Rubicon had been passed. There was no coming back from this. It made me physically ill. It was just a storyline, they said. It was just a way to make him relevant again because Sam Wilson as Captain America was not selling and needed to give the brand a boost. Besides, around the corner was all new Marvel Now. Everybody was getting switched out at the same time. What did it matter? It mattered because our heroes matter. It matters because the topsy-turvy world of comics, there was a few North Stars that you could hang your hat on. Steve Rogers being a true blue hero is one of them. By messing with that, you unmoored the entire Marvel Universe. And what happened in subsequent years was predictable after that. You can't unring a bell. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And you can't turn a fundamental hero known for punching Hitler into Hitler. I thought that was common knowledge. I thought some things were sacred. I thought wrong. Now I'm going to talk about my community service universe. Now, there's a interesting thing that an interesting argument that gets thrown in our face all the time. Okay, and that argument is this: it's just fiction. It's just these are fictional characters. You know, you write it one way today, you can reverse it tomorrow, and none of it matters. It's ephemeral. You know, it's water under the bridge. You know, if you don't like this today, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my comics. You know, and it just doesn't matter, right? Well, these same people who say that are the same people when you suggest that race swapping a character is wrong. And you get this reaction. The exact same people. Hold on. It's just the storyline's a terrible excuse to break characters. It's basically admitting nothing really matters. Yeah. That's exactly what they're saying. Nothing matters. Well, the thing about it is, though, is what are the consequences? Who pays the consequences for the misuse of a character, abuse of a character, making a character what's known as out of character, OOC. Yeah, when you're doing this with the characters that are established over decades and decades of lore, people come to understand who these characters are. They come to understand their fundamentals. They come to understand what they will or will not do. And even when a writer came in to like put their stamp on a character that's been around for generations, like, oh, I'm going to write Daredevil, okay. You know, if they're going to put their stamp on Daredevil, there's some certain things that had to be true of Daredevil. He had to be fearless. He had to be blind. He had to be a lawyer. He had to have Catholic faith, and he had to have a certain set of that Catholic guilt that kind of like forced him to try to intervene for people, and he always felt bad when he didn't succeed. He carried that with him, you know. And there was some things that are true of Daredevil, and everybody that wrote Daredevil would have these attributes. Why? Because they wanted to write Daredevil, and these things are true of Daredevil. These things are true of Matt Murdock. They're basically built into the character. These are his attributes. This is when you go to write him. These are things that you have to have in the back of your mind. or you're not writing Daredevil. Now, what happened is when people started coming into the comic book arena from outside, the activists, the people who basically had no love for the art form, had no love for the lore, had no love for the history. They're there for a paycheck, and they're there to, uh, make a point. Um, and but basically, they threw all these attributes out the window, and anything goes. Now, what does that? What does that happen? When you cross that line, what happens? When you cross that line once, then it lets people know behind you that they can cross that line too. And so these characters, not only do they get the initial breaking in, not only does Captain America say "Hell Hydra," even though they kind of retconned it later that it was not really him. There was an alternative version of him. Uh, hey, what's up, Wolf Lur? What's up, hey man? But that they retconned it. That's just like a actual version of Captain America that everybody recognized. That was like created in a parallel reality and made his way into our reality because the Kobik Cube like created him there, kind of like to rebel against what they were forcing him to do to Captain America. And so it's like then eventually you had Captain America versus Captain America, and so the good Captain America, the one we all recognize, came back to this world. But what happened? The next writer that they had on Captain America knew that he could make Captain America, Steve Rogers, his bitch. Ta-Nehisi Coates was the next writer, and he did that. He made Captain America his bitch. Longer run than Ned Brubaker got. And everybody that came into Captain America's orbit was, criticizing Captain America, making him look like a fool, being stronger, being smarter, being more intelligent, and it just like destroyed. Hold on a second. If you set a precedence, then you're the president. Us. Well, yeah. And so, basically, one person broke Captain America and proved that you can do whatever to him. And that Marvel editorial is perfectly okay with you having Captain America do the one thing that he would never do. And so, basically, everybody understood that Captain America's fair game. You can do whatever you want to with him. You can make him say whatever he wants to. You can make him do whatever he wants to, whatever you want him to. Like the next one after Ta-Nehisi Coates, the next writer had Captain America go back on his statement that he only saluted the flag. That he believed in America. He didn't believe in the government. He had him go back on that statement, which was a fundamental statement. And that guy had him go back on that. And so basically, broke him down, deconstructed, and you can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. You just can't. And they've done this with character after character after character. Most recently, Punisher. Hold on a second. It is possible to undo writing mistakes. John Byrne retconned the way different writer handled Doctor Doom, but bigger mistakes leave a stain on character forever. Yeah. And the thing about it is, though, is I think everybody I know that loves comics, their canon stops about around 2019. Everybody that I know of, very few people follow canon after that point. Um, and if things ever happen where Marvel ever gets back out of the hands of Disney and goes to somebody who doesn't have an axe to grind, that actually loves comics again, and and writes itself, to a certain extent, it's still going to be on the back of everybody's mind that Captain America's capable of saying Hell Hydra. There's no way back from that. There's really no way back from that. And it's like Walking Dead. Um, when they introduced Negan, the first thing he did was bash in the brains of a crowd favorite. My One of my cousins who watched Walking Dead religiously rage quit, said she'd never watch another episode. And they lost a big chunk of their audience. They lost a big chunk of their viewing audience over that. And then later on, they try to try to take the edges off of Negan, and now they got an entire show where Negan's one of the co-protagonists, and they're trying to walk that back. But nobody's gonna forget that Lucille crushed the shit out of one of their favorites, two of their favorites, if you like the other guy. But that's a bell that can't be unrung. You can't walk those things back. You can't unring the bell. You can't go back across the Rubicon once you cross once you cross these barriers. Okay, and that's the reason why the timeless child, Doctor Who, retconned the whole damn history of Who all the way back to the beginning, and did it deliberately because they knew they were going out the door, and this is probably the last episode they had, and so they retconned the whole dang thing all the way back to the beginning and made sure that everybody knew that Doctor Who was never going to be a white cis male property ever again, and so anybody that comes into it. And I don't think the guy that took it back over, I don't think he's the guy to do this, because I think he's just as woke as the rest of them. But even bringing back David Tennant, how do you unring that bell? How do you change that? I mean, it was like, okay, we're, the original showrunner of the new Who is coming back with David Tennant, and everybody's celebrating that, and everybody's happy about that, and then they drop the timeless child, and it's just like, okay, well, if we can't write it and if we can't be the showrunner, we're going to make sure that nobody can ever, right this ship. We're going to take it down with us. It was an act of petty bullshit, and it's just sabotage. It just destroyed it. I don't know how you walk it back. I mean, I don't know how you walk it back because people can't unsee that. And this has happened over and over again. The Last Jedi, a good example of this. You can't unring that bell. You can't come back across the Rubicon. For all time, Luke Skywalker is a dour little hermit drinking green titty milk and throwing away a lightsaber and refusing to participate in the saving of the universe. That's where we wound up. And in theaters right now, Indiana Jones. We get to know that Indiana Jones, basically last act as Indiana Jones, was an act of cowardice. He got to be saved by a female and drugged back to reality. And basically he gets, that's the last taste you're gonna have in your mouth for Indiana Jones. Say it ain't so, right? What they don't understand is no more. I can't take anymore. Okay, I'm sorry, Kokosuko. I'm working for a conclusion here. Uh, it's like they have things that are sacred that you can't touch. I mean, if you misgender somebody, you know, if you have a problem with somebody being race swapped, I mean, you know, uh, uh, if you were to say take a traditionally person of color and have them played by a white actor, basically they have things that are sacred, are untouchable, and but when it comes to these properties that aren't part of their ideology, aren't part of their religious fervor, then they basically wipe their butts with it. They do whatever the heck they feel like it. I saw where Constantine, there's a panel of this Constantine arc written by oh, I can't remember her name, some Asian chick. Anyway, franchises and characters are ruined on purpose, and too many customers just go along with it. Non-fans don't care. No, they don't. Normies don't care. They just lose interest in it because they never had any interest in to start with. It was like something that they looked at. Let me see. What is her name? Elisa Wong by I guess she's she, her, or them, they. I think she's non-binary or something. But she did a panel of Constantine where this character got misgendered by her mother, and it's like, oh, it's so horrible. And and he's just sitting there, and she gets misgendered by her mother, and he has Constantine being drawn as being appalled. Constantine, John Constantine. Okay? John Constantine is not appalled at shit. John Constantine is John Constantine. I mean, he is somebody that sold out his own friends to Satan to get out of Faustian bargains before. I mean, this is not a guy who gives a crap, that would give a crap about somebody being misgendered. It's just absolutely ridiculous but Alyssa Wong has mommy issues, and it's basically getting writing gigs off of the fact that she's declared herself, or they have declared themselves as non-binary, which is what is his name? Elijah Miller. What is his name? I can't remember. Eli Miller. The guy is playing Flash. He's considered non-binary, so he's getting away with shit. I mean, he's gotten away with more crimes in the last year than most people in their entire life. Okay. Wong is a she, non-binary is just no word for look at me, I'm special. Exactly. That woman's got mommy issues out the ass. I don't know who her mother is, but I mean, half of her projects are like, I hate mommy. Mommy hated me. I mean, that's her entire career right there. And that's just like everything is mommy issues with her. And it's like, geez Louise, what kind of mother did you have? Funny thing about it is, I guarantee it was a mother who wanted her to be feminine. And that's it. I guarantee that's the most horrific thing that her mother's ever done to her. Is just wish she want her to be more feminine. That it is what it is. Victimhood. oh my gosh, you misgendered me. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But these people, they have a religious fervor. They have things that are sacred to them, but they're not being that they're not what's sacred to them, what is precious to them, is something that has no creativity to it whatsoever. Has no creativity to it whatsoever. It absolutely has, like, I mean, anything that they write that adheres to their dogma, it's going to be boring, and it's going to be completely, totally uh, only seen by people who agree with them and who have the same religious fervor and the same dogma. And so they can't have that because then their dogma doesn't get spread around. Fanatic zealots, yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. Um, but so basically, and I've heard this. Aaron Jordan asked the guy one time because he was pushing this black Superman and saying, "Oh, we need this black Superman." And Aaron Jordan says, why not push things like static what is his name, Static Shock, or Icon, or any number of our Blue Thunder. I think what is it, Blue Thunder? What's his name? I can't recall. Anyway, it'll come to me later when I get off the show. Uh, but several of these characters that are just laying around that Marvel doesn't use, that are really good characters. They have like their own universes. They have their own interactions that they could be doing. And so why do you have to take Superman and give it and race swap him out? Why take something away from somebody else? Why not take this over here that's already fits what you want and elevate it? And they said because nobody will nobody knows who that is, but they all know who Superman is. And so they're only after the name recognition. Uh, they're only after mouthpieces for their ideology. And in the course of doing that, they're crossing lines uh, with these characters that can't be retrieved. You can't fix. You can't reverse. Uh, and who pays? Who pays for that? Ultimately, the characters pay. Uh, the characters move down in importance. The characters. There was once upon a time, back in the 90s and 2000s, that Wolverine was the biggest character in comics. Now, there's people that might disagree with me, but at one time, Wolverine was like in every book. He had multiple like secondary books. He had so many story arcs, and he was like just the it guy. Everybody wanted to write Wolverine. Everybody wanted to write him into their stories. Everybody wanted him in the arc. And Wolverine was a vital, important, big part to the Marvel Universe. But then somebody pulled the adamantium out of his bones and completely changed his entire, you know, way of operating, modus operandi, as it were. And they pull, I mean, because the adamantium in his bones was a big part of the character. That you had this guy who was not only fearless, not only badass, but he had an unbreakable skeleton. So if this sucker came after you, you know, because of his healing factor, you had a extraordinarily formidable opponent, and he had berserker rage too. So if he went off, then you have this far far fur ball with claws that can't be broken, and he's coming at you with everything he's got. And it made him for a very badass character, very important character. And then somebody decided to take the adamantium out of his bones and altered his character. I mean, eventually the adamantium got put back, but by then the character had faded in popularity. It faded a lot, and they couldn't unring the bell. They couldn't go back. You know, it's just something fundamentally important with the character, and somebody just messed with it to put their stamp on it, and if he faded as importance as a character, and you look over and over again, where there's been a line crossed, and where something has wound up destroying a character, or at least hurting it to a extent that is significant. And there's always, at its core, somebody thinking that they could cross a line, that they could change the character fundamentally, and change who that character is, or how they operate, or how they look at their world. Now, there are ways that works. There is ways that you can change, like something with the character that but you have to lay a lot of groundwork for that, and you have to follow up, and it has to be a change for the better. Good example: Angel, Archangel. Okay, Louise Samuelson was the architect of that. It took a character who was fundamentally one thing, and basically just wasn't, I won't say badass enough, but had kind of reached the limit of what that character could do, and the basically, to create Archangel, she had to create Apocalypse. Apocalypse happened because she needed a change agent for Archangel. And so she created another one of the iconic big bad villains of X-Men, just so she could fundamentally change Archangel, or Angel into Archangel. And you want to talk about groundwork, talk about forethought, talk about sheer guts, and I won't say balls because she's a female, but the audacity of that. But she pulled it off, and suddenly Archangel went from a secondary character, a little bit of a joke. He's just got wings and he flies, and his wings are feathers, And she changed him into a badass that's right on level with Wolverine, and it's terrifying. Okay, those metal wings are just terrifying, and so if you're going to cross a line with a character, you have to do it in such a way that you have to have a reason. You have to have something you're aiming for, that it's going to be beneficial to the character, and you can't change the character fundamentally, because he was still Warren Worthington III. He was still the rich guy who felt guilty about his richness, But now he has this whole entire angst. He has this other dark side that he didn't have before that he had to deal with. And so it expanded the character and gave you more options of the character. But it didn't fundamentally change who the character was. It didn't cross the line into something entirely different, making the character something fundamentally different that you can't recognize Warren Worthington III. And so, if you want to do it right, that's the template. Okay. Now, are there lines that you cannot cross? Are there? Yes. Yes, there are lines you cannot cross. And you will know those lines because you can ask the question, if I do this, is this going to be the same character after? Is it going to be recognizable? Am I altering the character in a way that people aren't going to be able to recognize them, that have put down comic books for 5 years and have just come back? And bottom line is, when you take ideology, your religious with the religious fervor that they do, the politics, and with the religious fervor that they operate at, then you don't care. You don't care if these characters come back. You don't care if these characters lose popularity. You don't care what happens with these future of these characters. You just cross the line. You don't care. And what happens is you ruin the character. You ruin them. And they have burned through so many IPs. I mean, the graveyard is extensive at this point. I'd say that the easier answer is, what haven't they utterly and completely destroyed? Nothing is sacred anymore. No, it's not. Now, nothing is sacred in the mainstream, which is why it's time to look to new characters. It's time to look to new avenues. It's time to look for people like Perfect 10, this synthoid, artificial created, perfect being that was used to assassinate powered people, and without her knowledge or without her consent. And now she's free of the programming, and she has a lot to answer for, and she has a lot to make up for. And so, in book 2, she dives into a conflict with a whole entire group of villains. Nobody backed her up, but she went anyway. Characters like that, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the new Captain America. We're looking for the new Wolverine. We're looking for someone to write the next big hero epic and the next heroes of the next generation. Because the biggest line that they crossed was, mainstream is just going too far. I don't think it's retrievable at this point, because I don't think that it will ever be in the hands of somebody that's willing to do what it takes to retrieve it. I just don't see anything on the horizon that makes me think that DC and Marvel are going anywhere but the way of the dodo. I just don't see. I don't see a light at the end of that tunnel. It's not an oncoming train. I think they've crossed the line too far. I don't think they can find their way back to the line at this point. So, Let's look for new characters. Let's look for new worlds to explore. And if I say so myself, I think I've got one for you. And I'm going to play that on the way out. But that is Ben Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. Thank you for coming today. Follow the White Rabbit. See you next time.
Years ago, America passed the 28th Amendment,
virtually enslaving anyone with special abilities into government service, or forcing them to live as ordinary citizens.
with his team disbanded.
America's foremost protector and hero for a century had been betrayed by the very institution he swore to serve. Erased from its history books, his every exploit was covered up. Now, in a place called Little Bighorn, the greatest hero America has forgotten will come out of retirement to take down the very institution he once served,
Assembling a new team of superpowered individuals wielding abilities never before witnessed.
In a country that has banned its heroes, it's time to root for the criminals. Let's start a new revolution.